Hey, I'm Mark. Recently was my birthday. Yay me! I was given some birthday money. Sweet! What to do with it, you might ask? Easy peasy. You buy one of these. An underseat subwoofer. This one happens to be an active, in other words, subwoofer, big enough to fit under your seat. This particular one is made by Pioneer. It's the TS-WX120A. Tell you a bit of a secret, right? I'm in my 30s, mid-30s. I'm a dad, 2 kids. I'm a vicar. But hey, I like my music to have a bit of a kick to it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna unbox it for you. I'm gonna show you what's inside of it, and I'm gonna show you what you are gonna need to install it. Because there's a couple extra pieces that you're gonna wanna have, and then I'm gonna install it. I'm gonna show you installing, and I'm gonna test it. I hope the test sound comes out all right. It may or may not. You know, here we go. So let's check. For comparison, I've got my iPad here, and dude, it's not that much wider or longer than an iPad. Obviously, thicker than an iPad, but not much bigger. Pretty impressive stuff, if you ask me. Okay, so obviously, we got the actual powered unit itself, with some connections at the back there. I'll let you have a look. This one here is for the remote. It's got a remote. This one here is for the audio. These are the cables that came with everything. Open up this puppy. Here is a whole bunch of cable. This is going to be going into the back. Here, the yellow cable has got an inline fuse, which isn't good. RCA connectors. This is the inline fuse, the power. You got your inline there, and then you've got this little bad boy, this little blue thing, and tucked inside in the black, you've got your grounding wire. I'll get back to this confusing little bad boy in a second. In this packet here, we have got our remote. You can see it's got a telephone. Don't know if you could phone anybody with this, but this is what the remote looks like. You see that? Okay. Sweetness. This is, what is this? This is your RCA adapter cable. So if your stereo doesn't come with RCAs, then you plug this into the back of this big mess here, bonk, and then these go into your stereo slots, which are kind of interesting. I'm not going to need this, but it's there anyway. This is a little bracket, this little black thing. I don't know if you can see it nicely. This little black thing here is the bracket, which goes on the back of here, across here, just to keep your wires from being tugged out, in case you drive like Ken Block. And then these are for attaching to the bottom of your amp, and you drill holes and you attach it into the bottom of your car. Now, if you don't want to drill holes in the bottom of your car, which I don't, you don't really want to use these. I'm not going to use them. What you can do instead is stick a bunch of sticky back Velcro onto the bottom, and then stick it onto the carpet of your seat, your car. That should be fine. Okay, so we've done that. Here is the, which is so bright you cannot see it. Trust me though, this is the manual, which is helpful. It's got little pictures and diagrams. It's a foldy out piece. It's not hugely, it does the job. It's informative, it does the job. You're gonna wanna take your time and look at this though, to be honest. You're gonna need a couple more things. Firstly, you want 2 more manuals, maybe 1. It depends on how well you know your car system. This here is my stereo manual, and the reason why I'm going to want that is because it shows me how I want to connect my amp to my car. You see, I've got the RCA connectors there, so I'm going to want to use RCA cables, which means I need extra cables. More than that though, or in addition to that, I have got my little Ford Focus manual, and I've turned to the fuse box section. Again, I don't think you can see this, it's just too bright in here. The reason why you're going to need this is because this, in the Pioneer manual, says that you need to connect it to a constant power supply. It's got this weird, funny little bullet tip thing going on here. You see that? A little bit odd. And if you don't want to be drilling through your fire brake and into the engine compartment of your car, because this thing is not going to fit, and you're going to have to make quite a massive hole to fit this through if you're going to connect it directly to your battery, you're going to want to do something a little bit differently. And so what I have done is I have found out, thanks to stvperformance.com, and a bloke called, let's get his name right, Haskett, who has, do a little bit of an intersearch basically, don't be lazy. Search the internet, you'll be all right. And worked out that for me, the one inside my car, because my car has 2 fuse boxes, an auxiliary one, which is in the car, in the, what do you call it, in the engine compartment, and there's one inside the car, passenger side, under the dash. For me, fuse number 33 is going to work, which just happens to be, according to my manual, a 20 amp rated horn and power seats. Now, I don't think I have power seats, so it's just for the horn, but it works, so I'm going to be using that. Now, in addition, because I'm using that, because I don't want to drill, and because this has this weird bullet tip connection and is not going to fit into your normal fuse, there's going to be a couple of extra things you're going to need. For this particularly, I have gone to my local Halfords and bought a add a fuse. It's also called a fuse straddle or saddle, something like that if you want. Basically, it's one of these things. You get to add in an extra fuse in here that goes into the original fuse, and you connect the bullet into this tip here, which is going to work quite nicely for me. So that's one extra cable. Like I said, the other thing I'm going to need is I am going to need, in order for my RCAs to fit from the back of my stereo to these bad boys, I've gone and got, again, Halfords, thank you, RCA extension, RCA to RCA. You can just about see right there, plain and simple. The other thing that I'm going to need, obviously, is additional fuses. So I've got a little pot, a little mini selection of fuses. In terms of tools, you're going to need some wire cutters, or at least I am, because I'm going to need these to show you. I'll get to this in a second. This little bad boy, this is number 10, because you're going to want to disconnect your car battery. You don't want to kill yourself. You can't listen to your tunes if you're dead. All right, back to this puppy here. So I have been to Halfords, and a shout out to Vicky and Ian, who were incredibly helpful and generous with their time and expertise at Chigwell Halfords. Thank you very much. They confirmed for me what I need to do. This here, all right, this cable here is your remote control. Okay, now it's got these two pins. This is a male flat spade. It's quite thick though, and this one here is a male bullet tip. They don't fit anything in my car, I'll be honest. I'm like, what the heck? And the instructions are that you fit these to the lead wire of a car stereo. That's this one here, and then this one, this male flat spade bit, is instructed to be connected to the auto power for your antenna. My car doesn't have a power antenna, so for those of you who are wondering, it's when you turn your car stereo and your antenna pops out like a little pubescent boy. If you got one of those, then you're going to need that. If you don't, you can ignore this. And I will show you how I'm going to set that later, but the thing I'm going to need, and again, thank you Halford, was this little cable lock connector. The guy there, Ian, called it a Scotch lock, so it might be called a Scotch lock, but basically it's one of these things. You get to stick 2 cables in, you crimp it down, and this little silver blade forms a connection between the two. There you go. That's what you're going to need. That's all the theory, so let's get to work. All right, welcome back. We're now inside the car. This is my stereo there. I'm going to show you where I'm going to stick everything. I'm going to wire it up. I'll probably fast forward the wiring, although I'll keep video in it so you can see, but I'll fast forward it so this doesn't take flipping ages, this video. And we'll just run through the installation. Right, here's my stereo. I've loosened everything already so I can just pull it out. Not a problem. And as you can see, here's the back of my stereo. These are the RCAs that we're going to stick everything into. We'll just rest it in there for now. So first things first, back of the amp. This one's going to go into the back here. Right, so let's stick this cable into there, and now we're going to need this, and I forgot my screwdriver. Dumbass. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I've bought a Flathead, I've bought a Phillips, and you'll see I've also got some pliers. Forgot to mention that. Sorry. This is going to be helpful in pulling out the fuse when we get to that bit, so you're going to want one anyway. So sorry about that. Let's get back to putting this bracket on, just to keep these cables secured. And this simply pops over the top. There you go, that's my amp. Now, if you were going to connect this with the holes, this is where you'd put those little brackets on those ends. Since I'm not doing that, I'm not going to worry. I'm going to stick the Velcro in later, so we get that done. But for now, I'm going to place it where I think I want it placing, which is under the chair there. And then let's get this in. Gonna get our RCA extension cables, stick that on that side, that on that side. Make sure they're connected nice and strong. Okay, so I've come around the car, I'm on the outside. I'm gonna run it through my skirting here and around the back and stuff. So here you go. Let's pop this open. Let me just pop this bad boy off. And that's going to help me get under the pedals. Just running the cables straight underneath the chair, get them out of the way. Through there. The RCA cables obviously were a bit too big, so I'm just going to reconnect those. I disconnected them to get them under the chair here. Make sure they're nice and in. And then what I might do is, because these are so big and they're not going to fit under here, I'm going to probably just tuck this lot under the chair, which is fine because it means I've got a little bit of movement and stuff. If I need to get to the amp again, I don't have to go crawling under the chair, so that's not a big problem. Just because it's the closest thing for the grounding cable, and so that I don't have to go unscrewing screws and getting behind the fire brake and stuff. One of the clips here comes to bare metal. I'll see if I can show it to you. Over here, bare metal. I've scratched that away, used a bit of sandpaper. You might want sandpaper too, sorry, forgot that one. Scratched that away, and basically I'm going to connect this to the bottom here and hope that that holds the whole time. It's probably not the safest, most secure option, but it's the option I'm doing, because I don't want to be here for hours and hours. I don't know if you can see, but I've got quite a lot of loose cable in there. But you want to keep some so that you can pull the unit out as well. But any excess I'm just going to tuck up and hope that it's alright. Pull the stereo out. We'll just rest it gently there, because I'm going to need to probably take my watch off so I can get to the back. And then ta-da! There you go, that's going to go into the back of my stereo. Now a quick look at my stereo thing will tell you that it is the bottom to RCA. Oh, there you go, sorry. The bottom to RCA. It says sub out. So I'm going to stick these into the bottom too. White into white, red into red. That's me sound. I'll fast forward this bit because you're not going to want to watch me untangling wires, are you? Now this one needs to go all the way across to the fuse box. Now I think I can get through it from the other side. I think there's a little natural gap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little loop in the cable like this. And then just try and stick it through so I can hook it with my finger through the other side. Okay, so I found a sort of similar way. It's a bit too far back, I couldn't get through, so I've come forward a little bit, tucked around. As you can see, if I do this, managed to get it around there. If I just give this a little tug. Hey. Okay, so we had got our power cable through to the other side, to near the fuse box, which is where we want it. So now we're going to do this blue cable. Same thing, run it through. This one goes to the back of the stereo though. And again, just like with the RCA cables, I'm going to stick them up through the dash, through the back. Here you go. Give myself plenty of slack. Sorry about that. My low power battery just came on. Plenty of slack there. All right. So I'm going to need it. Then I'm just going to tidy up. Okay, it's nice and neat. Shut the door and I'll show you where to connect things. So first things before we do the power, we're going to do this funky blue cable, which was really quite confusing, if I'm honest, and I had to go and get some semi-professional help. There's some oil on this, some grease from sliding it around through the back and stuff, so I'm just going to wipe that off. Yeah, so if you have a power antenna, you're going to want to use that male spade. Plug it in, it helps with the power. Otherwise this just goes and connects to the blue cable. Now I have a blue cable running from the back here into a third-party ISO adapter. And if you notice, if you're eagle-eyed, you'll see that this has a bullet tip, which doesn't connect into any of these. So what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to take my cutter. Let me use this one instead, this is quicker. And I'm going to cut, because I don't have a power antenna, I don't need to use this. I'm just going to ignore that. I'm going to cut as close as I can to this. And that means I've got as much flex to play with as I can. And this is where those cable locks / Scotch locks come from. So what you're going to do, so if I can open the damn thing. You just need just the one. Put it away nice and neatly. So you'll notice, I don't know if you can. See if I can get a better one. A better looking one. Okay. Right, there you go. So one side, the left side, has got a bit of a dead end to it. And the other side doesn't. Well, okay, so the right side has a bit of a dead end. So that is going to go into the dead end here. This is going to go onto our blue cable, making sure we get the right blue cable, which is this one here. I'm going to just stick it roughly in the middle, like this. So you'll see that one side, the cable can go all the way through. Okay, so you can slide up and down, whatever. The other side, it can't. So you take this and you slide it in on that side until it doesn't go anymore. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to simply fold this tip over, and we're going to use our pliers for this, because what we're going to do is crimp. And when you crimp, this little metal bit will pierce both sets of the cables. I'm holding it there, and it will form a connection between the two. Like so. Simples. Almost. This came out, which means I haven't crimped it quite enough. So I pop it back in, and then let's see if I can get it to go all the way to the other side there. Like that. There you go. Now that shouldn't come out if I tug it gently, not too hard, gently, that's going to be fine. Alright, so that's that. Good job. Which actually means I can now stick the stereo back in. And now we're going to come to here. I've got a few things in my glove compartment box. But behind my compartment box, I take some of this stuff out. I don't know if you can see. You'll see I got my fuses here. Alright, I'll get the camera sorted out and we'll get back to this. Alright, got the camera done. Fuse box under here. Power cable. What I've done is, that you haven't seen, that I haven't shown you, is I have simply run it through the bottom here, just tied it up just behind the carpeting and stuff. Okay, let's get this back out. So I can get to it from here. There it is. Dibby dibby dibby. Now here comes this funny thing. This just goes in here. Like that. And we're gonna crimp it. So that it stays together nicely. There you go. Nice strong crimp, that's not coming apart. So now, like I said earlier, mine's number 33. So I'm going to find number 33, pull it out. There it is. Now it's meant to be a 20 amp. There's a 15 in there, so I'm just going to swap that over and put a proper 20 amp. So the 20 amp goes in the original. Like that. There you go, that's that first slot. And then my secondary, even though it's got a 10 amp here, I'm going to stick another 10 amp in there, otherwise it's not going to work. So here's my 10 amp. Stick that in there. Sorted. Now this bit goes in there. Done. Pull that back in. Stick that. We should be good to go. I'll go reconnect the battery and then we'll do a quick sound check. Okay, so everything's connected. Got my little blue light working. I don't know if you can quite see it. Little tiny blue light there. That's working, that means it's on. So let's try some music. I'll turn it down first and you can hear what it sounds like without the sound, without the bass. It's not the loudest sub you're gonna have, it's not the thumpiest, it's subtle, which is what I wanted. Alright, so now we turn it up a little bit, and you'll start to hear, hopefully. That's it. If I turn it down, it takes just a little bit off. Turn it back up, and you can certainly feel it, just a little bit of a rhythm under your bum, which is kind of cool. So that's it, done. 2 tips before we go and end this. Make sure that your ground is ground properly. It won't work without the grounding. And secondly, make sure that that crimp, let's turn this off. Make sure that when you crimp it at the back, do you remember this thing? Make sure that that is done super tight to get a good connection. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Shout out to Luke Helfords. Thanks for that tip. Make sure you crimp it properly. Otherwise, it ain't going to work. Otherwise, hope you found this helpful. I hope it's been fun. If you have, yeah, use it. Good luck. Cheers.